Today we're going to be breaking down everything you can buy with $50 that I would do for investing right now. Starting off with Budapest. Obviously, the Budapest Major is out right now, and we've got our first prospective ROIs on these capsules, and it's actually quite interesting because what we're seeing is not really what we would expect to see. If we want to look at it, the top 3 ROIs are coming in from the Contenders Autograph Capsule, the Legends Autograph Capsule, and the Challengers Autograph Capsules. All of the autographs are coming in with higher ROIs than what we're seeing for the regular sticker capsules, which is extremely interesting. Obviously, some of these are weighted a little bit differently because of their low liquidity. These prices are list prices and average prices, so it could be a little inflated. If we want to look at our regular sticker capsules though, we can definitely see there is some quite expensive holos inside of these. We're looking at $14 or $15 on average a piece. Now obviously these are fluctuating every single day, so by the time you see this, it may have dropped or may have gone up. You don't really know. The first week is always super volatile for these. I will definitely say I'm extremely interested inside this area. Seems like Lin Vision is topping it for the Contender sticker capsule. For the Legends, we've got Falcons, and for the Challengers, we've got Tyloo, which are all some relatively big staples, so nothing too unexpected in that area specifically. Skinland is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with a free $10 on your first trade using code MasterShiny. And the best part is, you're going to be able to cash that out instantly with their brand new system. They've teamed up with Team Vitality to be the best in the game, offering you the lowest prices when you're coming to buy and the highest prices when you're using their instant cash out feature. They've got tons of different payout options when you're looking to sell, and their marketplace is filled with all of the best skins for all of the best prices. It's where I go to do all of my skins related items, and you should too, because they've got the best rates out there right now. Now I think one of the most relevant things going on right now is definitely going to be inside of this rare case market when we're talking about the cheaper end of it, and that's exactly what we're focusing in on for this series, because obviously we only have $50. We come here every month and we are always talking about these cheaper rare cases, but right now they have been slipping quite significantly. If we want to look over the past couple of weeks, and honestly since the start of November, we have just seen a very constant downturn of these cases, especially for some of the ones that are on the really cheap end. Your snake bites down potentially 25%, along with your fracture, along with even some of the Prisma 1 and Prisma 2s have pulled back a little bit. Now with that being said, I actually don't think these are in a bad situation. They just don't have the hype right now, but it actually makes for a very interesting predicament because there's a lot of really good investments here in my personal opinion. A lot of these cases still have a very strong hold on the current economy, but it really comes down to the fact that obviously these have shot up in price significantly over the past year, especially over the past year and a half. And therefore we're left in a situation where even though the price has dropped a fair amount, they're not down overall by any means. I still think they're in a very solid position, and honestly when it comes to this series, we're talking about probably the cheapest price point we're going to be seeing for a fair amount of time for some of these cases. In my personal opinion, usually we're starting to approach that time of the year where peaks start to heat up a little bit. I really like what I'm seeing long term with the case market, and honestly in the short term, if it's a buyer's market right now, which it seems it is, could be a very advantageous position to take advantage of if that's what you're trying to do. Now I will be completely honest, in today's video we are going to be making an investment into the Armory just because these ROIs are extremely low, and I don't think they're going to be sitting at this level for that long. If you want to look at the items inside of it, nothing is above 120% ROI, and that's the Sport and Field, which is the top, and that's honestly very weighted towards the M4A1S Fade, obviously. Second up is going to be the Elemental Craft stickers, and we'll talk about it a little bit more at the end when we make our actual investment, but inside of this area, I think there is a very strong potential. Obviously, it comes down to when these items get removed, and that's when the majority of their value is going to succumb into this area. I definitely think in the short term here, we're not going to be seeing too much movement for this area overall. Even the Fever case is down right now, which shows definitely how things have been going for the Armory as a whole. Now with all those things being said, I actually don't think the Armory is going to be sticking this low for this long, so I think honestly if we're going to make an investment, today is probably going to be one of the cheapest prices we're able to do it at, and I don't mind holding and sitting on some of these items for a fair amount of time, considering we know exactly what we're going to get. As long as they get removed, we'll make profit most likely. Now one thing a lot of people have really been looking at recently is going to be the overall sticker market, and especially some of these past major investments, specifically talking about these sticker capsules and everything related to that area. Now honestly, I don't necessarily think they're a terrible investment, and at fundamental value they are a good investment as long as the supply and demand keeps on the sustainable rates, and obviously that is most likely the case if we're still seeing demand for those, because obviously the supply cannot go up. But with that being said, I actually don't think the majority of them are really going to be finding their way into my investments for a number of different reasons. First up, obviously we had the opportunity to buy these at 25 cents. If we didn't then, I don't think most things are fundamentally changed enough to buy them now, but at the end of the day, these just don't have a ton of demand. The demand is very illiquid. It's something that comes, it goes, it moves around everywhere. Just because the sticker market has the hype right now, don't be blinded by the fact that the majority of these sticker capsules, especially since Stockholm and onwards, have had periods where they just sit for a very long extended period of time. And I don't want to get into an investment like that personally when I don't know exactly what the outlook is going to be, and something I'm not explicitly confident in. Now in my personal opinion right now, there is a huge opportunity depending on the investment you're trying to get into. For me personally, the super super low liquidity investments right now are really popping off in value. That's because obviously it only takes a couple of people selling them to go for them to drop down in price. When we're talking about some of these like older collection skins, older collection stickers, things that don't have a ton of liquidity, ton of demand even, but the supply is super low and they've been consistent inside of this area, I think it's a really good area to look at. I personally am very big fans of the Norse collection, St. Mark Canals. I like those three, and obviously you got Shattered Web with the other stickers, you got Broken Fang, and you got Riptide with the other collections. There's tons of different opportunities out there when it comes to this area, and the best part about them is, especially in an instance like now, they can crash down in price relatively easily. And I say crash down in price, they're still stable, they're still really good investments, but the price can drop rather significantly if someone wants to liquidate out all of their position, which is a really good thing when you're trying to buy these, and obviously when you go to sell them, it's not the most ideal, but we're not worried about that right now. Now the first thing I'm going to be buying, and you probably should have expected it, it's going to be some of these blue stickers from the Elemental Craft sticker collection. I mean, I've loved these things ever since they came out, and the price point on them on average right now is about as cheap as we're going to get. We're at 116% ROI, and honestly this thing usually is around 140, 150 on average. I think there's a huge opportunity when it comes to these blue stickers, specifically individually. Not everyone is going to be a winner. I highly suggest to check out the application rates chart. I'm not explicitly going to say which ones I'm going to invest into because I'm going to do a whole mix, and honestly I think you should do that for the ones that you think have the most value at the end of the day. But I really like these stickers, and honestly a lot of them, if you look at the application rates, are still in very heavy demand, which I really like. Second up for me right now is definitely going to be into these super cheap rare cases. We're talking about either your Fracture, your Snakebite, or your Clutch. I'm probably going to go Clutch here just because I think honestly it's the most stable of the three, and I think it's at a really advantageous price point in my personal opinion. Obviously the supply is still relatively large. It is a cheaper rare case, but it's one of the newer ones. I still think it's in a very prime position, and honestly all of this area is still really open for me. I think there's a ton of opportunity depending on which case you want to go into. Right now the price points have dropped down a fair amount. Clutch cases dropped down more than I expected, and that's exactly why I want to dive into it. Third investment for me is going to be a brand new one, and that's actually going to be the Fever case. Now we've not talked a ton about the Fever case just because it is in the active armory, and at the end of the day it needs to get removed for it to be profitable, but at a price point of 90 cents with a buy order, I really cannot pass this thing up. I don't think it's going to get any cheaper at all when it comes to a Steam market value, which is what we're basing this all off of. And if we want to look at the most important thing, our point of reference, that's going to be our unboxing numbers. Obviously the Fever case is consistently showing up as the #1. Now it's the most accessible, so there's obviously some very strong correlation there. People are still going to box it afterwards, therefore the Fever case is a long-term play, but it is a solid one at a good price point. And lastly, hands down, one of the easiest ways to make a ton of profit if you get a good investment is definitely going to be some of these more unique investments. In my personal opinion, I think there is a ton of potential out there when we talk about the collections, we talk about the unique items. This could be charms, this could be agents, it's really whatever you want to make of it, and that's what I like so much because it's such a wide range. If you can get in on an investment by yourself and it doesn't get picked up by the masses till a little bit later, you can make a ton of money. But that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.